The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had stood for more than 3 million years. Its walls were made of living crystal that sang soft songs when important decisions were made. Today, the crystals were silent. They had not made a sound since the young delegate spoke the forbidden word. Earth. Ambassador Al of the collective sat at the highest seat. His body was made of countless tiny crystals that shifted and moved like water. He was 900 million years old. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched stars die and new ones take their place. But in all his long life, he had never felt fear like this. The young delegate was named. She belonged to the people, a species that had only joined the galactic community 2,000 years ago. Her skin was pale blue, and her 4 eyes blinked with confusion as she looked around the silent chamber. "I do not understand," said. Her voice echoed in the great hall. "The humans are a young species. They have just learned to travel between stars. They seem peaceful. Why does everyone look so afraid?" No one answered. The other delegates sat frozen in their seats. The gaseous beings of colored smoke and light had turned dark. They had stopped moving completely, their many legs pulled tight against their bodies. Even the ancient, who feared nothing in the known universe, had grown dim. Al raised one crystalline hand. "Protocol Omeganol," he said. His voice was barely a whisper, but everyone heard it. "This discussion is sealed. No record will be kept. No one will speak of this outside these walls." Stood up from her seat. "With respect, Ambassador, I must protest. The Science Academy has spent 10 years studying the humans from a distance. They are fascinating. They are creative. They build art and music and stories. They would make wonderful friends to the galaxy. Why are we treating them like monsters?" The High Queen made a clicking sound with her mandibles. It was the sound her species made when they were trying not to scream. "Because they are monsters," she said. "They are the only monsters that ever truly mattered." "That is enough," Al said quickly. "You are young, you do not know the old histories. Earth is listed in the Quarantine Codex. It is the only world with such a listing. No species may contact them. No ship may enter their system. This law is older than your species. It is older than most species in this room. It will not be changed." Felt anger rising in her chest. She had worked so hard to prepare her proposal. She had studied human culture for years. She had learned their languages, watched their broadcasts, and read their stories. They seemed so alive, so full of wonder and hope. How could they be dangerous? "What does the Quarantine Codex say about them?" she asked. "What crime did they commit? What threat do they pose?" Al was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke words that had not been spoken aloud in 600 million years. "Do not wake them. Do not remind them. Let them believe they are alone." The crystals in the walls made a sound. It was not their usual singing. It was more like crying. After the meeting ended, returned to her quarters on the great ring world of, she could not sleep. The fear in the council chamber had been real. These were beings who had lived for millions of years. They had seen countless wars and disasters. What could possibly scare them so deeply? She knew she should let it go. She knew she should forget about the humans and move on with her work, but had always been curious. It was both her greatest strength and her greatest weakness. Late that night, she used her security codes to access the restricted archives. She had to bypass 17 different locks and 3 ancient warning systems. Each one told her to turn back. Each one promised terrible consequences if she continued. She ignored them all. The file on Earth was small. It contained only a single page. At the top was a symbol she did not recognize, a circle with a line through it. Below that was a date, 612 million years ago, and below that were the words she had heard in the council chamber. "Do not wake them, do not remind them, let them believe they are alone." But there was more. At the bottom of the page, in text so small she almost missed it, was a single sentence. The file called it the primary directive. It read, "If contact is made, inform the High Council immediately. Prepare for extinction level response. Extinction level response. The galaxy had weapons that could destroy entire star systems. They had technology that could erase species from existence. And someone, long ago, had decided that these weapons should be used on the humans if anyone ever talked to them. Felt sick. What were the humans? What had they done to deserve such fear? She dug deeper into the archives. She found references to something called the First Age and the Great Silence. She found star maps showing a vast region of the galaxy called the Dead Zone, where no life existed. She found fragments of ancient texts that spoke of beings who had ruled the stars before any other species evolved. And then she found the warning. It was a message from the High Architect who had lived 600 million years ago. His name was Al the Elder, an ancestor of the current ambassador. His words were simple and filled with terror. We have won, but we have not destroyed them. Destruction was impossible. They are beyond death as we understand it. Instead, we have contained them. We have locked their minds in bodies of flesh. We have erased their memories. We have placed them on a small world in a quiet corner of the galaxy. They will live short lives. They will know pain and fear and death. They will forget what they truly are, and in forgetting, they will become harmless. But if they ever remember, if anyone ever tells them the truth, the containment will break, and they will wake up. May the stars forgive us for what we have done, and may they protect us from what we have imprisoned. Drop the data pad. Her hands were shaking. Her hearts were beating too fast. She understood now. She understood everything. The humans were not just another young species learning to explore the stars. They were something else, something old, something terrible, something that the entire galaxy had worked together to imprison and forget. And then her communication device made a sound. She had a message from the Science Academy. She opened it with trembling fingers. Ambassador, the message read, we are pleased to inform you that our research vessel Luminous Dawn has entered the Sol system. First contact with the human species was established 3 hours ago. They are delightful. They have invited us to visit there. We will send updates soon. Read the message 3 times. Each time the words stayed the same. Each time the horror grew worse. Someone had already contacted the humans. Someone had already broken the oldest law in the galaxy. And now, for the first time in 600 million years, the humans knew they were not alone. Ran to the communication center as fast as her legs could carry her. She had to warn them. She had to stop this before it was too late. But deep in her heart, she knew the truth. It was already too late. It had been too late from the moment the Luminous Dawn entered the Sol system. The humans were waking up, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain of the research vessel Luminous Dawn had studied alien species for most of his life. He had met beings made of fire. He had talked to creatures that lived in the hearts of gas giants. He had even shaken hands with the ancient, whose crystal bodies hummed with the memories of 1 billion years. But humans were different. He stood in the middle of a human city called New York. Millions of humans walked past him every hour. They looked at him with curiosity, not fear. Some of them smiled. Some of them waved. A small human child ran up to him and offered him something called ice cream. They are so strange, said to his science officer, a young named Myra. They show no fear of us at all. Myra nodded. She was scanning the humans with her instruments. Their bodies are weak, she said. They have no natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no armor. Their bones break easily. Their skin tears with little pressure. By all measurements, they should be prey animals. And yet they built all of this, said, looking up at the tall buildings that touched the clouds. They conquered their world. They reached their moon. They are learning to travel between stars. How did they do it with such fragile bodies? The answer came later that day, when they visited a human hospital. A young human male had been in an accident. His arm was broken in 3 places. His face was covered in blood. By standards, he should have been screaming in pain. Instead, he was sitting up in his bed, laughing with his friends. "Does it not hurt?" Myra asked him. The human shrugged. "Yeah, it hurts like hell, but I'll be fine. The doctors say I'll be healed in a few weeks." Myra checked her instruments. She ran the scan 3 times because she did not believe the results. "Your bones are already starting to repair themselves," she said. "Your body is producing chemicals that reduce your pain and increase your strength. This is not possible. This should not be possible." The human laughed. "It's just adrenaline, everyone has it, it's no big deal." But it was a big deal. Over the next few days, and his crew discovered more and more strange things about humans. They healed from wounds that would kill most species. They could survive in extreme temperatures. They could go without water for days and without food for weeks. Their bodies adapted to almost any environment. And when they were threatened, something happened to them. Their eyes changed. Their muscles grew stronger. They became faster and more dangerous than any creature their size should be. But the strangest thing was not their bodies. It was their minds. Every intelligent species in the galaxy had a psychic signature. It was like a light that shone from their consciousness. Some species were bright, some were dim, but everyone had one, everyone except humans. When Myra tried to scan a human mind, she found nothing. It was not that humans had weak psychic abilities. It was that they had no psychic presence at all. They were holes in the fabric of reality, black spots where light should be. "I do not understand," Myra said to one night. "Every living thing in the universe has a mental signature. Plants have them. Animals have them. Even bacteria have them. How can humans have nothing?" Did not have an answer, but the question made him uncomfortable. For the first time since arriving on Earth, he felt afraid. The next day, they met Dr. She was a scientist who studied human history and ancient civilizations. She was tall and thin, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to look right through you. When she spoke, everyone listened. There was something about her that commanded attention. "I have been studying your galactic archives," she said too. "Your people have shared so much with us. Star maps, history, science. But there is one thing I do not understand." "What is that?" asked. "The Quarantine Codex. Your records mention it several times, but the details are restricted. It seems to be a list of forbidden places, and Earth is on that list." She smiled, but her eyes were cold. "Why is our world forbidden, Captain? What are you not telling us?" Felt his blood turn cold. He should not have given the humans access to the archives. He should not have shared so much information. But they had been so friendly, so curious, so harmless. "It is an old document," he said carefully. "It is probably a mistake, a clerical error from millions of years ago." Doctor did not look convinced. "A mistake that has been maintained for 600 million years. A mistake that makes your entire crew nervous whenever someone mentions it." She leaned forward. "Tell me the truth, Captain. Why is the galaxy afraid of Earth?" Before could answer arrived. She had traveled across the galaxy at maximum speed, breaking a dozen laws along the way. Her ship appeared in Earth's orbit with its engines burning and its hull damaged from the strain. She did not care. She had to stop this before it went any further. "You must leave," she said through the communication channel. "You must leave now. You do not understand what you have done." But it was already too late. That night, every human on Earth dreamed the same dream. Doctor saw it clearly. She stood in a great hall made of black stone. Stars burned overhead, billions of them, and she knew they all belonged to her. She raised her hand and solar systems died. She spoke a word and civilizations fell silent. She was not human. She was something older, something greater, something terrible. She saw other beings like herself. They moved through the galaxy like gods, taking what they wanted, destroying what they did not need. Younger species ran from them. Some tried to fight. None survived. And then she saw the war. The younger species had united against her kind. They had built weapons that could hurt beings of pure thought. They had fought for millions of years, and in the end they had won, not by destroying her kind but by trapping them. She saw herself being forced into a body of flesh. She felt her memories being torn away. She screamed, but no sound came out, and then everything went dark. Doctor woke up screaming. Her sheets were soaked with sweat. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought it would break her ribs. She was not alone. Across the world, 8 billion humans woke up at the exact same moment. 8 billion people who had just remembered a dream that was not a dream. It was a memory. Captain watched the chaos unfold from his ship in orbit. His instruments showed impossible readings. The psychic silence that surrounded Earth was changing. Something was moving in the darkness. Something was waking up. He tried to contact the Galactic Council, but his communications were jammed. He tried to start his engines, but they would not respond. The luminous dawn was trapped in orbit around a world that was no longer sleeping. Stood beside him on the bridge. Her face was pale, her hands were shaking. "We have to warn the galaxy," she said. "We have to tell them what is happening." Hal asked, "We cannot move, we cannot communicate, we cannot do anything." Look down at the blue planet below them. It looks so peaceful from up here, so beautiful, so harmless. But she knew the truth now. She had read the ancient files. She understood what the humans really were. They were not a young species learning to explore the stars. They were the oldest species in the galaxy. They were the first rulers of the universe. And for 600 million years, they had been asleep. Now they were waking up. And the galaxy had just run out of time. The changes started slowly at first. In a small town in Japan, an old woman woke up speaking a language that had not been used for 500 million years. In Brazil, a young boy drew pictures of star systems that human telescopes had never seen. In Russia, a factory worker suddenly knew how to build machines that could bend space and time. Doctor sat in her office and watched the reports come in from around the world. Every hour, more cases appeared. People were remembering things they had never learned. They were speaking languages they had never heard. They were drawing maps of places they had never been. And they all shared the same dream, the dream of fire and darkness, the dream of power beyond imagination, the dream of ruling the stars. "What is happening to us?" her assistant asked. He was a young man named David, and his hands were shaking as he read the latest reports. Looked at him. Her eyes had changed since the dream. They were darker now, deeper, like windows into an endless void. "We are remembering," she said. "We are remembering what we used to be." Far across the galaxy, the Galactic Council had called an emergency meeting. Every major species was represented. The Great Hall was filled with fear and anger and desperation. "The humans are awakening," Ambassador Al announced. His crystal body was dim, barely glowing. He had not slept since the news arrived. "The containment is failing. Soon they will remember everything." "Then we must destroy them," the High Queen said. "We have weapons that can burn their planet to ash. We have bombs that can shatter their sun. We must act now before it is too late." "It may already be too late," said the representative. His gaseous form was dark and stormy. "The ancient texts say that the first ones cannot be killed. Not truly. Destroy their bodies and they will simply find new ones. Burn their world and they will become something worse. Something without form. Something we cannot fight." The chamber fell silent. No one had a solution. No one knew what to do. "There is another option," Al said quietly. "We can learn the truth, the full truth. We can go to the dead zone and find out what really happened 600 million years ago. Perhaps there is something we have missed. Perhaps there is a way to stop this that we do not know." It was a desperate plan. The dead zone was forbidden. No ship had entered it in millions of years, but desperate times called for desperate measures. 3 days later, a small fleet of ships arrived at the edge of the dead zone. Was aboard the lead vessel. She had volunteered for this mission. She felt responsible for what had happened. If she had not proposed contact with the humans, none of this would have occurred. The dead zone was exactly what its name suggested. It was a region of space where nothing lived. No planets, no stations, no signals, just empty darkness stretching for 40,000 light years. The scans show no life, the ship's pilot reported. No energy signatures, no movement, it is completely dead. Not completely, said. She pointed at her screen. There, do you see it? Deep in the heart of the dead zone, there was a single point of light. It was faint, barely visible, but it was there. They flew toward it for 6 days. As they got closer, the light grew brighter, and then they saw it. It was a world, a dead world covered in ruins. Buildings that had once touched the sky were now broken and crumbling. Cities that had once held billions were empty and silent. Everything was covered in dust. But the buildings were still standing. After 600 million years, they were still recognizable. Led the landing party down to the surface. The air was breathable but stale. The ground was hard and nothing moved, nothing lived. And everywhere they looked, they saw statues. The statues were made of black stone. They depicted beings with 2 arms, 2 legs, and 5 fingers on each hand. Beings with forward-facing eyes and soft skin. Beings that looked exactly like humans. This cannot be right, one of the team members said. These ruins are 600 million years old. Humans only evolved 200,000 years ago. How can this be? Knew the answer. She had known it since she read the ancient files, but seeing it with her own eyes made it real in a way that words could not. Humans did not evolve, she said. They were made. They were created by the galaxy as a prison for the first ones. Every human body contains a trapped consciousness that is older than the stars. The team explored the ruins for several hours. They found libraries filled with books written in languages no one could read. They found machines that still hummed with power after millions of years. They found art that depicted the rise and fall of the greatest civilization the universe had ever known. And they found the Hall of Memory. It was a vast chamber at the center of the largest city. The walls were covered with images that moved and shifted like living things, and when stepped inside, the images came to life. She saw the first ones in their glory. They had been beings of pure thought, creatures who had evolved beyond physical form. They could move between stars with a single thought. They could reshape reality with their will. They were gods in every sense of the word. But power had corrupted them. They had grown bored with creation. They had started to see younger species as toys, as food, as entertainment. They hunted civilizations for sport. They consumed entire worlds just to feel something. The younger species had fought back. 1,000,000 different races had united against the first ones. They had developed weapons that could hurt beings of pure consciousness. They had built traps that could contain minds without bodies. The war had lasted for 10 million years. Trillions had died. Half the galaxy had burned. But in the end, the younger species had won. They could not kill the first ones. That was impossible, but they could trap them. They could force their consciousness into bodies of flesh. They could lock away their memories. They could make them mortal. And so they created Earth. Watched as the images showed human bodies being grown in great tanks. She saw first one consciousness being ripped from the void and forced into these prisons of meat and bone. She heard their screams. She felt their rage. And then she saw something else, something that the ancient texts had not mentioned. The images showed a human standing apart from the others. She was tall and thin, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to look right through you. The images called her the shepherd. She was not like the other first ones. She had helped create the trap. She had chosen to imprison herself along with her kind. Why? Asked aloud. Why would she do that? The images could not answer, but deep in her heart understood. The shepherd had seen what her people had become. She had been disgusted by their cruelty. She had hoped that mortality might teach them something, that pain and fear and love might change them. It was a gamble, a desperate, hopeless gamble. And now, 600 million years later, they were about to find out if it had worked. Returned to her ship and opened a communication channel to the Galactic Council. Ambassador Al answered immediately. "What did you find?" he asked. Told him everything. The ruins, the statues, the Hall of Memory, the truth about the shepherd. When she finished, Al was silent for a long time. Then he asked the question that everyone in the galaxy was asking. "What do we do now?" Looked back at the dead world below her. 600 million years ago, this had been the heart of the greatest empire in history. Now it was dust and silence. "We wait," she said. "We wait and see what the humans choose to become." Because that was the real question. The first ones had been monsters, but they had lived as humans for 10,000 years. They had experienced love and loss and hope and fear. They had built families and friendships and communities. Had it changed them? Could monsters learn to be something else? The answer would determine the fate of the entire galaxy. And it was coming soon. Doctor stood on the roof of her building and watched the sun set over the city. She remembered a time when she had watched different suns set over different worlds. Suns that she had created. Suns that she had destroyed. Suns that had burned for billions of years just because she had willed them into existence. She was the shepherd. She had always been the shepherd. And now, after 600 million years of sleep, she was finally awake. The memories were overwhelming. She remembered hunting civilizations across the galaxy. She remembered the taste of dying worlds. She remembered the screams of species that had begged for mercy and received none. She remembered being a god, and she remembered enjoying it. But she also remembered being human. She remembered her mother teaching her to ride a bicycle. She remembered her first kiss behind the school gymnasium. She remembered the joy of discovering ancient bones in the desert. She remembered crying at her father's funeral. She remembered falling in love, getting her heart broken, and learning to love again. 2 lives, 2 sets of memories, 2 versions of herself. Which one was real? Her phone rang. It was David, her assistant. "You need to see the news." She turned on her television. Every channel was showing the same thing. Across the world, people were demonstrating powers that should have been impossible. In China, a man was lifting buildings with his mind. In Germany, a woman was healing the sick with a touch. In America, a child was speaking directly into the thoughts of everyone in his city. The awakening was spreading. Every hour, more humans remembered who they used to be, and with those memories came power. "What are we going to do?" David asked through the phone. Looked at her hands. She could feel the power flowing through them. She could reshape reality if she wanted. She could destroy this entire planet with a thought. She could become what she used to be. But she did not want to. "We are going to make a choice," she said. In orbit above Earth, the galactic fleet had arrived. 2,000 warships from 100 different species. They had weapons that could shatter continents and bombs that could poison stars. They had come to destroy humanity before humanity destroyed them. Ambassador Al stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was 3 million years old, but he had never felt so tired. "Are we sure about this?" he asked. "We have no choice," the High Queen replied through the communication channel. "The humans are awakening. Soon they will have their full power. If we do not strike now, we never will." "But they have not attacked us," Al said. "They have not threatened anyone. Perhaps they have changed." "They are the first ones," the Queen said. "They do not change, they only destroy. We must strike while we still can." Al looked down at the blue planet below. It looked so peaceful, so innocent. It was hard to believe that it contained the most dangerous beings in the universe. "Give the order," he said finally. "Begin the bombardment." Felt it before it happened. She felt the weapons charging in orbit. She felt the hatred and fear of 1,000 alien minds. She felt the galaxy preparing to murder her species. And she felt something else. She felt other awakened humans around the world. Some of them wanted to fight. Some of them wanted to destroy the fleet and remind the galaxy why it had been afraid. Some of them wanted to become what they used to be. But most of them felt what felt. They remembered being human. They remembered what it was like to be small and weak and afraid. They remembered loving people who would die. They remembered losing people they could not save. They remembered the beauty of a single flower, the warmth of a child's smile, the peace of a quiet evening. And they did not want to lose that. They did not want to become monsters again. Reached out with her mind. She touched every awakened human on Earth. She shared her memories with them, not the memories of power and conquest, but the memories of humanity. The bike rides, the kisses, the funerals, the love. "We have a choice," she said, and her voice echoed in 8 billion minds. "We can be what we were, or we can be what we have become. The galaxy fears us because of what we used to be, but that is not who we are anymore. We are not gods. We are humans. And humans are something the universe has never seen before. We are beings of cosmic power who understand what it means to be weak. We are immortal minds who know what it means to die. We are ancient souls who have learned what it means to love. We can be something new, something better, we just have to choose it." In orbit, the weapons were about to fire. Al's finger hovered over the activation switch. One press and Earth would burn. But then something happened that no one expected. A voice spoke directly into the minds of every being in the fleet. It was voice, but it was also the voice of the shepherd. It was the voice of a being older than the stars, and it carried weight that no physical sound could match. "We remember what we were," the voice said. "We remember the hunts and the wars and the deaths. We remember the cruelty and the arrogance and the destruction. And we are sorry. We are sorry for what we did to your ancestors. We are sorry for the pain we caused. We are sorry for the worlds we burned and the species we destroyed. But we are not those beings anymore. We have lived as mortals. We have known fear and pain and death. We have learned things that transcendence could never teach us. And we choose to be different. We choose to be human." The fleet hesitated. Al's finger trembled over the switch. And then another voice joins, then another, then 1,000, then 1,000,000, then 1,000,000,000, 8 billion human voices speaking as one. "We remember what we were. We choose what we will become." On Earth, the awakened humans who wanted war were surrounded by their own kind. Not attacked, not imprisoned, but embraced. Their fellow humans shared memories with them. Memories of love and loss and hope and fear. Memories of being small in a big universe. Memories of finding beauty in simple things. One by one, the war-minded awakened changed their minds. They remembered why the shepherd had created this prison in the first place. They remembered that mortality was not a punishment. It was a gift. Not all of them accepted this. Some refused to let go of their old selves. Some tried to break free and attack the fleet. But they were few and the others stopped them. Not with violence, but with compassion. "You are our family," said to the resistors. "You have been our family for 10,000 years. You do not have to be what you were. You can be what we have become. Let us show you." And she opened her mind to them. She showed them everything. The joy of human connection, the peace of human love, the beauty of human life. Things that transcendent gods had never known because they had never been weak enough to appreciate them. It took time. Some of them fought against it, but in the end most of them accepted. In orbit, Al lowered his hand from the activation switch. The weapons powered down. The fleet held position. "What are they doing?" the Queen demanded. "Why are we not attacking?" Al watched the blue planet below. He had lived for 3 million years. He had seen countless wonders and horrors, but he had never seen anything like this. "They are choosing," he said. "They are choosing to be human." Opened her eyes. The sun had set. The stars were coming out, the same stars that she had once ruled as a god. She did not want to rule them anymore. She just wanted to look at them and find them beautiful. Her phone rang again. It was a communication request from the Galactic Fleet. "This is Ambassador Al," the voice said. "We wish to talk." Smiled, "We would like that too." It was not over. The galaxy still feared them. Many species still wanted them destroyed. The road ahead would be long and difficult. But for the first time in 600 million years, there was hope. The humans had awakened, and they had chosen to be human. Now they had to prove that choice was real. The neutral world of 7 had been chosen because it belonged to no one. It was a small planet with skis and endless fields of purple grass. For 10 million years, it had been used for diplomatic meetings between species who did not trust each other. Today, it would host the most important meeting in galactic history. Representatives from every major species had gathered in the Great Hall. They sat in their crystal chairs, their bodies flickering with nervous light. They huddled together, their many eyes watching everything. They floated near the ceiling, their gaseous forms dark and turbulent. And 100 other species filled the room, all of them afraid, all of them angry, all of them uncertain. At the center of the hall stood Doctor. She was alone. 8 billion humans had chosen her to speak for them. 8 billion ancient minds trusted her to represent their new identity. Ambassador Al stood across from her. His crystal body was brighter than it had been in weeks, but tension still crackled through his form. "You know why we are here," he said. "The galaxy must decide what to do with humanity. Many species want you destroyed. Others want you contained again. Only a few believe you can be trusted." Nodded, "I understand. If I were in your position, I would feel the same way." "Then convince us," Al said. "Convince us that you have truly changed. Convince us that the first ones can become something else." Took a deep breath. She had prepared for this moment. She had thought about what she would say. But now that she was here, words seemed inadequate. So instead of speaking, she opened her mind. She showed them her memories. Not the memories of the shepherd, but the memories of the girl who had grown up in a small town in Mexico, the student who had fallen in love with archaeology, the scientist who had dedicated her life to understanding the past. She showed them her first day of school, her first heartbreak, her wedding day, the day her daughter was born, the day her mother died, all the small moments that made up a human life, all the joy and pain and love and loss that transcendent beings had never known. And then she showed them the awakening. She showed them what it felt like to remember being a god. She showed them the temptation of power. She showed them the voices that whispered to take back what was theirs, to burn the galaxy and rule the stars again. And she showed them the choice. The moment when 8 billion humans decided to reject their past and embrace their present. The moment when ancient gods chose to remain mortal because mortality had taught them things that eternity never could. When she finished, the great hall was silent. Many of the delegates were crying. Even they who had no tears were flickering with colors that meant deep emotion. "We do not ask you to trust us," said aloud. "Trust must be earned. We do not ask you to forget what we did. Our crimes were real and we must answer for them. We only ask for a chance to prove that we have changed, a chance to show that power does not have to corrupt, a chance to be better than we were." The High Queen spoke first. Her voice was harsh, but there was something different in it, something that might have been hope. "And if you fail, what if some of you return to the old ways? What if the hunger comes back?" Considered the question carefully. "Then we will stop them ourselves. Humans will police humans. We will not allow our kind to hurt the galaxy again. And if we fail at that, if we prove that we cannot be trusted, then we will accept whatever judgment the galaxy decides. We will not fight it. We will not resist, because if we cannot be better, then we do not deserve to exist." The debate lasted for 7 days. Some species argued for extermination. They said that the first ones could never change, that it was only a matter of time before they returned to their old ways. Better to destroy them now than wait for the inevitable. Others argued for containment. They said that humanity should be returned to its prison, memories wiped again, kept ignorant and isolated for another 600 million years. It had worked before. It could work again. But most species argued for something else. They had felt memories. They had experienced human life through her mind, and they had seen something that gave them hope. The first ones had been creatures of pure thought. They had never known weakness or fear or death. They had never needed anyone or anything. That was why they had become monsters. They had no connection to the universe. They had no reason to care. But humans were different. Humans needed each other. Humans formed bonds and built communities and loved people they could lose. Humans knew what it was like to be small in a big universe, and that knowledge had changed them. On the seventh day, the vote was held. It was close, closer than anyone had expected, but in the end, humanity was given its chance. The terms were strict. Human expansion would be limited. Human fleets would be monitored. Human leaders would report to a galactic council. For 1,000 years, humanity would live under observation, proving that they could be trusted. Accepted the terms without argument. "We do not want to rule the galaxy," she said. "We have done that before and it brought only suffering. We want something else now. We want to be part of it. We want to belong." And then she made a proposal that no one expected. "Let us be your guardians," she said. "We have power that no other species possesses. We can protect the weak from the strong. We can defend the young from the old. We can stand between the galaxy and the things that threaten it. Let us use our power for something good. Let us earn our redemption." The idea was radical. Many species rejected it immediately. But Al, who had lived for 3 million years and seen many impossible things, supported it. "The first ones were once the galaxy's greatest predators," he said. "Perhaps they can become its greatest protectors. It would be fitting. It would be just. And it would give them a purpose beyond mere survival." The vote on the Guardian proposal was even closer than the first, but it passed, barely. 100 years later, a young alien child stood on the surface of her and looked up at the night sky. And she lived on a frontier world at the edge of explored space. Her name was, and she was afraid of the dark. "What if there are monsters out there?" she asked her mother. "What if something bad comes for us?" Her mother smiled and picked her up. She pointed at the stars. "Do you see that light?" she asked. "The bright blue one." Nodded. "That is a guardian station," her mother said. "Humans live there. They watch over us. They protect us from the things that lurk in the darkness." "But I heard that humans used to be bad," said. "I heard that they used to hurt people." Her mother nodded. "That is true. Long ago, before you or I or even our grandparents were born, humans were very different. They did terrible things. They hurt many species. They made the galaxy afraid. Then why do we trust them now?" Her mother thought about the question for a long time. She thought about the stories she had heard, the ancient war, the imprisonment, the awakening, the choice. "Because they changed," she said finally. "They were given a second chance, and they used it to become something better. They learned that being powerful is not the same as being important. They learned that helping others matters more than ruling them. They learned that the universe is better when everyone works together." Looked at the bright blue light in the sky. "So they protect us now." "Yes, they protect everyone, the weak and the strong, the young and the old. They stand between us and the darkness." Smiled, she was not afraid anymore. "I want to meet a human someday," she said. Her mother laughed. "Maybe you will. They say that humans love children. They say that being around young ones reminds them why they chose to be good." In the Guardian station above, a human named watched the little planet below. He was 400 years old, but he remembered being young. He remembered being afraid of the dark. He remembered his parents comforting him with stories and warmth. He had been a god once. He had ruled the stars and burned civilizations. He had been the thing that monsters feared. Now he was something else, something better, something that he had never imagined he could be. He was a protector, a guardian, a friend to the small and the weak and the afraid. His communicator beeped. A ship was approaching from the outer rim. It had sent a distress signal. Pirates were attacking it. Smiled and activated his console. "This is Guardian Station 7. Help is on the way. Hold on. You are not alone." He launched his ship into the darkness. The stars blazed around him. The same stars that he had once owned now shone down on him as a servant, not a master. And he would not have it any other way. The humans had been gods. The humans had been monsters. The humans had been prisoners. Now they were guardians. And the galaxy was finally safe. Not because the darkness was gone, but because someone was willing to stand against it. Not because evil had been destroyed, but because good had been chosen. The first ones had ruled through fear. The humans protected through love. And that made all the difference.